Can you find the hidden secret in this scene? What about this one? You probably can't. And that's because there are some secrets in Demon Slayer that can't be found by watching scenes at normal speed. That's why I watched the entire Demon Slayer at 0.25x speed in order to find the craziest secrets you never noticed before. For example, during the Mugen Train, when Tanjiro is about to kill Enmu, he uses a sun-breathing form called Clear Blue Sky. And immediately after he uses it, if you look really closely, you'll notice that the sky turns blue for a few frames, despite it being night outside. Okay, this one was really hard to spot, so I don't blame you if you didn't notice it. But can you notice anything weird in these two scenes? After Tanjiro completed the final selection, two of Kagaya's children were there to congratulate him, one with white and one with black hair. However, if we fast forward to episode 22, both of the children have white hair now. Is this some kind of mistake? Well, no. It turns out that Kagaya actually has 5 children, and the one with black hair is just not here at this time. In the 25th episode of season 1, we were introduced to Kanaya Kocho, the former flower Hashira. If you pay attention to her design, you may notice that her jacket and hair clip look oddly familiar. This is because in the present time, her jacket is worn by her sister Shinobu, and her hair clip was taken by Kanao. It's really sweet how the two of them did this to honor her memory. And although that's pretty sad, this next one is completely heartbreaking. If you pay attention to all of the Hashira's outfits, you'll notice that all of them look pretty normal except for Gyu's, which seems to be made out of 2 jackets put together. And that's because it is. You see, this green and yellow half was originally a part of Sabato's jacket, and you can clearly see him wearing it here, while the other half belonged to Gyu's sister Tsutako. They both died protecting Gyu, so he is wearing parts of their jackets as a tribute to them. During the Mugen Train arc, when Tanjiro and the others enter the train, if you slow down this scene a bit, you can see this girl. You notice anything weird about her? That's right, she looks exactly the same as human Nezuko! The exact same kimono, same face, and the same hair. And although this probably means nothing, it's so cool when you notice it. But sometimes interesting things are not even hidden in the episodes, but in the openings. For example, in the first opening at exactly 1 minute and 13 seconds, you can see this cool art of all Hashira together. However, judging by which episode you're watching, this screen may be different. You see, in the opening of episode 2, only Gyu is visible and the others are blacked out, since he is the only Hashira we were introduced to at that point. This later changes in episode 20. When Shinobu is revealed, it changes again in episode 22, and finally in episode 23, all of Hashira are revealed. After Tanjiro is defeated by Gyutaro during the Entertainment District arc, he starts mocking Tanjiro and calling him all sorts of names. Now, if you remember these names and go to the very next episode when Gyutaro's backstory is revealed, you'll notice that these are the exact same words other kids use to mock him. Worm, dimwit, sad sack, coward, and good for nothing. And if you think some of these secrets were cool, you've seen nothing yet, because this was only the first level of secrets I'll reveal in this video. And with each level, the secrets will only get harder and harder to find. Like this one. When this guy was inside Tanjiro's soul, we can see a couple of these spirit things guiding him. If you count them, you'll notice there are 6 of them in total. And they most likely represent the souls of Tanjiro's deceased family. Mother, father, and 4 siblings. But did you ever notice this little detail during Tanjiro's fight against Daki? In episode 6 of the Entertainment District arc, Tanjiro cuts one of Daki's legs. However, when she regenerates it, her clothes also regenerate with it. This becomes even weirder when you realize that only a couple of minutes later, Nezuko couldn't regenerate her clothes. So was this just a mistake? Well, maybe, but a lot of fans also believe that Daki's clothes are made out of her flesh, and that's why it always regenerates. And while we're on the topic of the Entertainment District, do you remember this scene when Daki sees Yorishi's reflection in Tanjiro? Here, Yorishi's eyes are completely white to emphasize how scary he was to demons. And immediately after this scene ends, for literally a second, you can see that Tanjiro's eyes have also turned white. While watching the show in slow motion, I started to notice that some demon slayers have some kind of letters written on their blades. After paying closer attention to it, I realized that it was only Hashira who had this engraving on their weapons. So what do these say? Well, all of them say, Destroyer of Demons, and this engraving is something everyone gets when they get promoted to Hashira level. Okay, that one wasn't that hard to notice, but I bet many of you completely missed this little secret in episode 14. While Tanjiro and Zenitsu are goofing around inside the Wisteria house, for a very short moment, you can see that Zenitsu's sparrow and Tanjiro's crow are standing on the roof, probably keeping a watch in case demons find them. So, do you remember these 3 people? They're the owners of 3 houses the trio infiltrates during the 2nd season. But did you know that we actually see them way before this? If you pay really close attention to the opening of this season, you'll notice each of these owners is hidden in the background. With that, the 2nd level of secrets is done, and although some of these were really hard to spot, you've seen nothing yet, as the secrets in the 3rd level will leave you absolutely speechless. Take this one for example. During the final selection, if you slow down some of the scenes when Tanjiro is using his sword, you'll notice that his sword is blue. However, later on, we learn that the color of Tanjiro's Nichiren sword should be black. So why was it blue here? Well, you see, Nichiren's swords only change color the first time someone holds them. And considering Tanjiro used one of Urokodaki's old blades during the final selection, its color stayed blue instead of turning black. Okay, that detail was pretty small, but are you ready for an even smaller one? At one point during Tanjiro's fight against Daki, he uses his sword to keep her sashes in place. However, one tiny detail to notice here is that the sharp side of Tanjiro's sword is facing the right side, meaning when Daki tries to pull her sashes back, the sword should rip them apart, but it doesn't. This is most likely a mistake by the animation team, and the sword should have been facing the other side. But did you ever notice that some of the Kusugai crows Hashira use have unique accessories? For example, in this scene, you can see a crow with a flashy necklace and earrings, obviously resembling Tenjin because it's his crow. And also here, you can see a crow with a green-pink heart accessory on it, resembling Mitsuri's design. Now, you probably noticed that at one point in the show, the mark on Tanjiro's forehead changed from looking like a scar to looking more like a tattoo of some kind. But did you ever notice when exactly it happened? Well, it actually happened all the way back in episode 4. At exactly 18 minutes and 16 seconds of this episode, it's the last time we see Tanjiro's scar. After that, it's covered with blood for some reason, and in the 11th second of episode 6, its new design is revealed for the first time. Although we haven't seen much of Stone Hashira Gyomei in the anime so far, in a couple of scenes, you can see that his jacket has some Japanese letters on it. So what do these mean? Well, the letters say Namu Amida Butsu, which when translated means I entrust myself to the Buddha of infinite light and life. It's pretty much just a religious chant, and it goes well with Gyomei's personality, considering he is praying all the time. If you take a look at Tanjiro's hand during episode 1 of the anime, you'll notice that they look really gentle with no scratches on them. However, after training with Urokodaki, his hands have become visibly damaged. From then on, pretty much every time we see a close-up scene of Tanjiro's hands, you can notice these little scratches on them, which is just an amazing little detail from the animation staff. Before we cover the 5th level and the secrets that are literally impossible to notice, let's cover the 4th one first, which contains the craziest secret so far. And I bet none of you noticed this before. During the Swordsmith Village arc, we were properly introduced to Genya and even got a little bit of his backstory. During this one specific scene, exactly at 17 minutes and 50 seconds, you can see this girl. Do you notice anything weird about her? She looks exactly the same as Gyu's sister. Her hairstyle, clothes, and even her hairpin are exactly the same as hers. However, the craziest thing is that since this is a scene from a backstory, Gyu's sister was most likely alive during that time, which means that this might actually be her. And although that's absolutely insane to think about, did you know that there is another great secret in the very first episode of the show? You see, before Tanjiro goes into the town to sell charcoal, you can see one of his siblings holding an axe. Later on, when Tanjiro learns that his entire family is dead and starts running with Nezuko, you can see that he has the exact same axe around his waist. He probably picked it up at some point off screen. Of course, this is then the same axe he uses to attack Giyu. I mean, it's nothing groundbreaking, but it's a really cool detail that I doubt many people noticed watching the show at normal speed. So you probably noticed that whenever Gyoko, the Upper Moon 5, wants to use one of his techniques, he does so with his porcelain vases. However, one detail you may have missed is that he uses a differently designed vase for each attack. For example, this is the vase he uses to activate his 1,000 Needlefish Kill attack. This is the one he uses for the Octopus Vase Hell attack. This is for creating streams of water, and this one is for his 10,000 Gliding Slimefish attack. It's a really neat detail, but man, the names of his attacks need some serious changing. Another great detail can be found in the opening of the same season. In this one short scene, you can see Morichiro battling against Yorishi Type 0 doll, and if you pause at exactly the 25th second, you can see that his blade gets broken. But why is this important? Well, you see, in the anime, Muichiro's sword gets broken off-screen while training. So I guess we know now exactly how it happened. One of the strongest demons we've seen so far in the show is definitely Zohakuten. This is Upper Moon 4's last transformation, and it appears when all previous forms merge together. Okay, you all knew that. However, one thing I'm sure you missed is how Zohakuten's clothes are a combination of clothes of all demons that merge into him. For example, his sleeves are the same as Aizetsu's sleeves. Those purple things hanging behind his head are the same ones from Yurogi's belt, and that belt-like thing around his legs has the same pattern as Sekaido's kimono. But did you ever wonder what Nezuko and Tanjiro do in their spare time when they are not fighting demons? Well, during this one scene when Muichiro comes to wake up Tanjiro, if you look at the floor next to them, you'll see a couple of colored papers and some origami. They probably made origami together before going to bed, and although it may not be as interesting as some of the other secrets, you have to admit that it's really cute. Enough fooling around. We're finally at the 5th level, and I hope you are ready, because all of the secrets we have left are absolutely mind-blowing! At the very start of season 3, we see all the Upper Moons together in a meeting. During this time, Doma teases Akaza, who in turn breaks half of his face. Now, if we really slow down the part when Doma regenerates, we can see how incredibly detailed it is. Take a closer look. You can clearly see how his bones appear first, then some tissue, and finally skin. It's insane that animators put so much effort into this. This is not the only time animators went the extra mile. At the very beginning of the show, during the opening scene, we can see these weird-looking marks in the snow, almost as if some kind of vehicle went through here. However, that's not the case, as we know that Tanjiro left those marks while carrying Nezuko. So, is this some kind of mistake? Well, no, it's not a mistake. It's actually just an insanely realistic detail left by the animators. You see, Tanjiro carried Nezuko for a long time and was really tired, so he eventually started dragging his legs along as he didn't have enough strength to lift them each time. That's why the marks in the snow look like this instead of normal foot marks. If you managed to spot that last one by yourself, congratulations! But there are some details even more hidden than this. During Tanjiro's fight against Gyutaro, at one point, Tenjin throws Tanjiro in order to save him from Gyutaro's attack. But if you play this scene in a really slow motion, you'll notice that he actually threw him using only 2 fingers. This was probably done because Tenjin was holding weapons in both of his hands, so he couldn't have thrown Tanjiro any other way. Still, it's an interesting find. However, not as interesting as this one in episode 2. Here, at exactly 15 minutes and 48 seconds, we can see Urokodaki's house, and on the roof, you'll notice these rocks. This looked a bit weird to me, so I did some research and found out exactly why Urokodaki put them there. You see, back in the day, people who lived in stormy areas or in the mountains usually put heavy rocks on the roof, so strong winds wouldn't destroy it. Man, this level of detail is amazing. During the Mujin Train arc, we saw Akaza, the Upper Moon 3 demon, fight for the first time. While activating one of his techniques called Compass Needle, you can see this symbol appear beneath his feet. Now, if you take a closer look, you'll notice that this symbol resembles a snowflake, which is a bit weird because shouldn't it resemble a compass instead? Well, if you pay very close attention while reading chapter 155 of the manga, you'll notice that Akaza's fiance, back when he was a human, had snowflake hairpins. Although Akaza doesn't remember his past, he subconsciously made his attack look like this. But did you ever wonder what would happen if Tanjiro met a different Hashira during episode 1? What kind of breathing style would he learn, and how strong would he become? Well, you can click on this video next where we explained just that.